Hi, this is Zach Meir with the birthday edition of the Bulletin Board Heroes. It is Thursday, the 7th of September, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which has bounced quite nicely at basically what was that early July support there, around 7,400. I suppose a bit of a bear trap from below that, but above 7,400, looking for the 50-day line at 74.75 to break, and then up to perhaps 76.50 by the end of the month. Don't want to see the market have an end-of-day close back below 7,400, otherwise it would risk 73.20 and then maybe even 72.20. But at the moment, it looks as though we'd just about escaped the sub-74 scenario. Moving on to the DAX, which has in recent days been toying with its support line there from back in December. It's obviously seen that line there, 15,600. Nightmare scenario, I suppose, is we have to test the 200-day line, 15,400, before we head higher. Ideally, we bounce and remain above that December line, have an end-of-day close back above the 50-day line, 15,900, and then retest the July peak around 16,500 by the end of this month, although I have to say at the moment that seems a little bit optimistic. Moving on to the Dow, which has been also testing an uptrend line. In this case, we've got an October line there, 34,400. Obviously, the risk here, as with the DAX, that we would have to test the 200-day line, 33,700. We want to see 35,000 cleared, really, in the 50-day moving average there at 34,700 to get us out of this mini bear phase that we have at the moment. RSI failure just above 50, the 50 level, which tends to be not a good signal in these kind of situations. On to the Bitcoin situation, and here the market just dithering at the floor of that rising trend channel from the beginning of the year, so 25,300, I suppose the notional support area. But we got stuck even below the 26,000 level. Want to see proper price action above that to get us back to the 200-day line at 27,500. But ominously and weirdly quiet, this market, even after the pullback that we've had from the July peak. Moving along to the stocks and starting off with Angle, where we're looking for potential recovery, and it seems that the shares may be obliging. We've had bullish divergence going into that August low. Broke a line of resistance there around 12 pence, and then we've had support come in there at that level in recent days. Nice break of the 50-day moving average, so hopefully it's second time lucky after the failure in July. And if we can get that 50-day line to start rising, then we've got a chance of 18 pence as soon as the end of this month, while we're above the 12 pence zone. On to a stock which I haven't looked at for ages, Arcontech, and here the good news, I suppose, is that we had the unfilled gap to the upside, so it was a bear trap gap reversal. It was also a bullish divergence situation, so we had lower lows going into July, but higher RSI trace. And it's really a shame we haven't been looking at this stock before. Golden cross to start September, unfilled gap to the upside today, so that suggests that 105 pence or a bit more could be on the cards by the end of this month. But ideally staying above that mid-80s area in the meantime, and obviously the floor of that gap. On to critical metals, where I've just had the feeling that the shares are trying to turn around, or will be trying to turn around. So we've been looking for a bounce for the stock at old resistance. The old resistance this time last year, almost to the day, around 17 pence, and the shares seem to have seen that. RSI starting to push up nicely as well. Probably want to see an end-of-day close through 19 pence to tell us that we can head up to 23 or 24 pence by the end of this month. Hellenic is next, and here looks like we've got a rising trend channel base. We've got a bounce off a rising 50-day line, which tends to be a decent signal. And so the view is that while we're above 0.09, looking for an initial target here by the end of the month at 0.15. Obviously, still way off the glories that we had back in May and that double top at that time. Moving along to one of the better performers of the recent past, probably one that not that many people look at, but Light Science, making great progress within that rising trend channel from June and making progress towards the top of that gap at 3.9 pence left back in April. I think if we look back, we haven't been above the 200-day line since February last year. So this is a big turnaround here for the stock, and looks like it's one which will have legs with the nice candles that we've had recently. Above the 200-day line at 2.7, looking for 3.904 pence, perhaps as soon as the end of this month on light science. On to Loop Up, and here we've got a situation where the shares also look as though they're delivering a turnaround. Falling wedge break, rising 50-day line, and we push through that. So above that 50-day line, 1.995 pence. We're looking for as high as 3.2 pence by the end of next month. I suppose it's double bottom there for the shares, around 1.75 pence at the beginning of the month, and hopefully we'll stay above we'll stay on the right side of 2 pence ahead of a move to 3.2. Moving on to Mosman, which seems to have had a new positive lease of life. Can't think why. Maybe something to do with the management changes, etc. But broken neckline resistance there at 0.0276, and above that, looking for the shares to head to 0.04, 4.5 over the next 2 to 4 weeks. End of day close above the 50-day line, currently just where we are now, would seal the deal, hopefully, on a move higher, or at least a long-awaited recovery for the shares. On to Panther Metals, and here, apart from the news of an event at the Cote Brasserie later in the month, we seem to have a bounce off the floor of a broadening triangle there from March. 2.9 pence is the level there. Above that, looking for 4 pence maybe by the end of next month, and hopefully a bit sooner after the shares got really oversold of late. Moving along to the last few, starting off with Sareum, where the interest here is based on the unfilled gap to the the gap to the upside that we had at the beginning of the year. I suppose we did actually come and fill that gap, so it's a gap fill rebound. Initial target here towards £1, which is the 200-day moving average level. Best case by the end of next month, as high as £1.27. Ideally, we stay above the 80 pence level in the meantime. Onto a stock which has intelligent followers, so let's say. Here we've got a wide rising trend channel there from back in April on Spectral MD. I'm looking for the top of that channel there at 73 pence to be hit as soon as the end of next month, and maybe even sooner. The more days we can spend above the 55 pence level, the better, because that's been post-April resistance until yesterday. Finishing up with Tertiary, which at long last seems to be turning around quite nicely. We had unfilled gap to the upside off the low, which was our initial signal, and that was around the 0.09 pence level, breaking the 50-day moving average. Bullish divergence line there from back in July, so the lower price lows, but higher RSI, and that's come up with the goods here. End of day close above the 200-day line at 0.13 would be very nice indeed, after we've hit our initial target there at that level. And above 0.13, looking for 0.22, which is the top of that broadening triangle from back in December. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.